Okay, the next thing we want to show is how to leverage custom order statuses that don't fall within the few that are available kind of out of the box. just to let you know what is available, let's go ahead and hop into integrations. And if we look right here under order, we've got the statuses of order created, order updated, order fulfilled, order authorized, order paid captured, order refunded, and order canceled. And so the point of these integration order statuses is that each of these trigger an event, so that when the order is created, you have the option to then send that order someplace downstream to a webhook, basically. If it gets updated, you can send it to another, say, a serverless function that looks at the order, see what actually changed, and you can see what you need to do. If the order has been shipped, then you can set the status to fulfilled, and so on. So each of these statuses basically trigger the order to be handed off to some downstream system. So one common use case is, well, what if I have a status that falls outside of this? Say I want to see when when an order has got a tracking number added to it, or whatever the use case is. We can then extend the order object by creating a new flow and then using a slug of orders. That will then extend the order object. So if I go here and say orders, save, and then I want to create a new field called status for the slug. That's the field in the API that you'll be updating. Oops. And we'll hit save. So it's a string, it's custom status. All right. So if we go into orders and we look at one of these orders, we now have a new status field that we can put whatever we need to put in there. All right. But this is an example of how to do this through the API. So let me go ahead. And since we don't let you delete core flows, change it to a non-core flow name. And then we can go back and we can then delete it. So nice clean slate. All right. So in the step-by-step advanced Postman collection, you should have a new folder called custom events. And so you want to do two things. We want to first create that flow. And we create that flow where we use the slug of orders. And so we're going to enable it as true. And then we're going to save that flow ID into a field called flow ID. So hit send. So that's created that flow. And then we're just going to add a new field, calling the fields, v2 fields endpoint. And we're going to say that it's called custom status. And this custom status is for statuses that are not supported with out-of-the-box features, and changing this triggers the order updated event. That's what we're really after, is that event to be triggered. So then we can send the order object to a serverless function. We can interrogate the contents and say, hey, the status is my new status that I want to do something with. And then you can know that it's appropriate to send that order downstream. All right, so this is going to attach that field to this flow that we just created. So we'll hit send on that. So that's created that field. So now we have that field. Now we need an order that we can, oh wait, first let's create the event. Or create the trigger on the event. So we're going to call the v2 integrations endpoint. And we're going to create an integration. And we're going to trigger on the observes. This event is going to observe the order updated event. And we're going to send that order object to this webhook URL. And then we're going to Yes, it secret. Oops. So that. And this is a handy site for testing because it will, and we'll look at it here. Let's go ahead and look here. Let's delete all the stuff that's in here now. So it's nice and clean. So this ID and this ID match so that we can see the order as it. So this is just going to wait for that order to come through. All right, let's send on this. So that's created our trigger. If we jump back over here, we can look at under settings, integrations. This is that trigger that we just created, and it's going to listen for the order updated event. And you can see logs, nothing has happened yet. All right, we put back to flows. We should be able to see. I'm going to refresh. So we see this new order extension that has our new field, custom status. So we're good to go. So now let's test it. All right, so close it. These guys here. Okay, first thing we need to do is we need to add the cart. So I don't want to have to find the product, so I'm just going to add a custom item. So this allows us to add anything to cart we want, kind of on the fly. We don't even have to have a product in the catalog. We can do I can do a whole nother video on this here. So cart ID is going to be cart-ID-123 just for demo purposes. That's created a cart with one item for $200. And then I'm going to jump right to checkout. And so I'm going to call carts with the cart ID and the checkout endpoint. And so I'm putting this dummy data for the email address. This is a anonymous checkout, so I'm not passing in the customer ID with the billing and the shipping address. Let's send on that. So that has triggered the order created event, but it hasn't triggered the order update event. So we jump back over here and look. See, it's still waiting because nothing was triggered. So now I want to update the order status. So I call the orders endpoint and pass in the order ID I just created. Is it in there? What did I just create? I created this order ID. Let's highlight this. Copy it. Oh, it's there. It's there. Okay. Not sure. So all we have to do is pass in the data type of order and put in the new field we just created called custom status. So it's called custom_status. We'll hit send on this. And then if you want to check the logs, you pass in the integration ID that we created, and we can check the logs. You can see that processing time was 492 milliseconds. We got a response of 200. And that's the integration that created. So that's successful. And then if I want to call that request endpoint here, I can use the API and just get back that data. But in better, more visual representation is this guy, where you see the custom status is equal to new status, and the triggered by was order updated event.